Welcome, everyone, to the Care Conversation series, where we look at tech integration into an art classroom. Today, I'm joined with an old friend, Erman.
Thank you.
Erman is from Pei Hua Presbyterian Primary, and he's been an art teacher for how many years?
16 years. 1 6.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Erman's been an art teacher for 16 years. Um, Erman's recently done an interesting thing on LinkedIn. You've actually developed a series of
Articles.
articles.
Yeah,
Could you perhaps maybe tell us a little bit about that, and I'll ask you about your teaching experience?
sure. Sure. Okay, so in my LinkedIn, I wanted to do a project that will tie in the relationship between tech and art.
Okay.
So therefore, I went into this curation and creation of 7 weeks. Why 7 weeks? Just some. It's just a period of time lah, about 7 weeks, and within these 7 weeks, there are several articles that talk about art and how currently it has been um, integrated with technology also.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually it goes in the process of how, as art teachers, we actually get students to do the primary brainstorming, mind mapping, and the primary thinking about art, the ideation, and then the process will, and then in the few weeks coming after, it will be about how then students develop all of this ideation through technology, and then
Okay.
after the creation of art through technology, that will be the end of the article itself.
So you started doing this in January this year,
Yes, yes,
2025, January 2025.
yes.
We're now at the end of February 2025. So how many more weeks do we have of this
I've
series of articles that you are
Okay, so I've
pushing?
written about 3 articles.
Okay.
So left with 4 articles, and I hope that in every article I'm able to give examples of how, in fact, the current landscape is not about AI. How AI actually can amplify the ideation process, the creation process, or even the making process of art. So in every article, yes, you can look out for all these AI integration into art creation.
Excellent. And I would like to talk to you a little bit about this aspect of AI amplification ideation process. But maybe first to have some foundation in this conversation, could you share with us what's your history with tech infused art classrooms? I know you have a long history with it, as in you have been a person trying to push tech use in an art classroom. Yeah, could you
Sure.
could you share a little bit about that?
Yep, yep. Okay, so in the beginning careers of my as an art teacher, um, I look into tech more for collaborative learning because I figure out that every student do art for their own sake, and it also like for their own meaning, for their own creation, for their own um, if I use a Singapore lingo, for their own show. But so I
Okay,
was
so it's very self
yes,
gratifying, is
it's
it?
so gratifying.
But that's the whole thing about making art, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So I wanted to reach it with education. We are not
You mean like
teaching
values education?
uh
I mean, because
val
gratification, I mean, does
yes,
have
yes,
some
yes, yes.
educational element to it, right?
Yes, more than that, like actually, values education. Okay, like we can call it values education because it involves collaborative learning, it involves teamwork, it involves patience,
Okay.
and all of those things. Yeah, so it's really about all this collaboration. It's really about talking about art. Because at the end of the day, I also figure out that after so many rounds of consultation,
Yeah.
every single child has a deep down interest of doing art for their own, and they share similar interests.
Okay.
So why not elevate the whole art creation and make them talk to each other first before they come to consult me? So
Okay.
therefore, so therefore, yes, I wanted a platform to have them talk about art, a safe platform lah. So I realized that, hey, why not use an online platform? And then back then, the online platform, I mean, social media was starting out, and I realized that people are also talking in social media. So I was in search of a
Wait,
platform
how far
that
back are we talking with this?
2010,
Okay, so we're talking 15 years ago.
yes,
Yeah, okay.
to the,
Where it was the moment of rise of social media
yes,
platforms and stuff, right?
yes, yes,
So
yes.
I'm guessing you were trying to go for a social communal collaborative kind of learning experience for the learner, for the child.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I
Okay.
mean, for me, jumping into the bandwagon of social media, I also realized that it's a good place to document. It's a good place to interact with one another.
I remember these days.
Yeah, do you remember MySpace?
Yes, I do remember MySpace. Yes, and there were some actually other platforms that I cannot even remember now, but they were like blog sites and stuff like that,
Yes,
right?
yes.
That have died and taken over by something else, and died and taken over by something else. That
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, Facebook was on the rise. WordPress and blog was not many people at that time was using.
Yeah.
So therefore, yeah. So I'm trying to find all these social media, not say social media platforms that enable students to socially mix and socially talk about their artwork. So I found one,
Okay.
okay, and that's where it all begins. And then after that, it just go on where yes, they are talking about their own art, they are reflecting about their own art with others, definitely. And therefore, as a teacher, then we try to scaffold certain elements of how to um, uh, communicate better about their artwork, enhance their scaffolding about their artwork.
I was
So
trying to remember the term for this. I think it was social constructivism as one of the emerging approaches at that time, or the approaches that were quite popular. So moving forward from the 2010s,
yes,
or at least, I mean, during that junction, now that you're 15 years away from that, how do you feel? Do you feel that that approach, the merits or the issues with that approach? I mean, what did that approach give birth to? Did it? Did you observe a change in how we students make or students learn about art?
yeah, definitely. There's a change in art creation
Okay.
where because they interact with one another, so their friends give them ideas and vice versa,
Okay.
and together they elevate, amplify their own artworks. Okay, but of course the landscape also improve. If we move forward all the way until now,
Yeah.
we have different kind of challenges, different kind of generation,
Yeah.
and different, or rather a more advanced tools to actually amplify even further all these, but I'm still keeping um, the documentation of students artwork to talk about each other quite faithfully lah, until
And
now.
what platform are you using now to
I'm
do it?
using Padlet, the Padlet platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something very avant-garde lah. Everyone is using Padlet also to interact with each other. Yeah, because of, I think simply because of the accessibility of simply taking photos and just
Putting it there.
putting it
And
there.
then at one screen you sort of see.
Yes, at one screen you can see everybody's
Everyone's doing.
artworks.
I guess it's kind of like a gallery wall, right? A virtual
yes,
gallery
a
wall
yeah.
in a classroom. Okay.
Yeah.
So if that had a heavy focus on social constructivism,
Yeah.
and or was it communal constructivism? Anyway, one of those. I can't remember the term now. But what happened then between from 15 years ago till now? What were the things that you started to implement as the years went by?
Okay, so I think interestingly, I'm always looking out at, okay, so that is one part of my philosophy of education
Okay.
for students to talk about art together.
Okay.
Okay, then the other side of it is how to make art better and faster, because we are always chasing
Because we're
for times
Singapore and we
we're
are
Singapore.
efficient,
Yeah,
right?
we are efficient, and we always talk about how to beat the timeline of doing project works lah. In that sense, yeah. So interestingly, I still remember the days where technology is not, or rather is being monopolized by certain companies
Okay.
like Microsoft.
Okay.
So we started doing art using Microsoft Words, Microsoft PowerPoint, which
Word how? PowerPoint I understand. Word. I'm trying to.
Words, I was, okay, I don't have reference right now, but just that for Words I remember.
Just describe it. Yeah.
Okay, for Words, we were dealing with the module of typography.
Okay.
So in Words, I think there's
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of fonts.
Okay.
There are a lot of fonts.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, instead of the normal poster design and stuff like that, so
You can do layouts.
we can do layouts and And really, I'm not too sure whether it's painful or not, but I'm seeing a lot of student engagement.
Okay.
Okay, student engagement where they literally cut and paste every single letter just to format
Right.
objects. So if let's say we have the object shoes,
Yeah.
so literally they use SHOES to form the
Okay.
picture of the shoe,
Okay.
the visual picture of the shoe.
Okay.
Yeah, they had fun creating it, and then it's also, I mean, fun is one thing, engagement is one thing, but I also realized that they actually be more sensitive to details because of the letter placing, and so that they can form a visual construction to convince me that that is the image that they construct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I suppose that because it's done using such a tool like Word, and if it's done sufficiently well, the end product could look, like a real end product, a professional end product.
Yes.
An end product that, if they were to draw it with a pencil, would be very difficult to get to that polished finish, I assume. Or I speculate.
Depends lah, yes and no.
You can disagree with me.
Yeah.
You can just say, no, you're wrong.
No, I won't say entirely wrong lah, but it really depends on. I mean, artworks are produced based on. I mean, the other part is how much students are willing to spend the effort on.
Okay.
So they are really willing to engage themselves in technology.
Okay.
I'm not too sure if, let's say, I'm using the traditional paper and pen method.
Yeah.
Or paper pencil method. How much can they actually invest their time in producing that work?
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, let me just carry on. So with that said, I'm not entirely looking at just technology art. Yes, it's efficient, it's fast, but at the same time, because of all of these, the nuances that they can have, that they can discover using paper pencil. So the next step and the next approach is, okay, we have one set of work, and this is probably your digital draft.
Okay.
Yep. So let's develop this draft
Okay.
into more towards a fine art approach using pen, pencil, and pen. At least the baseline of their visual image is there. So given the same instructions, for example, let's produce an artwork. Let's produce a typography work that creates the image of the shoes using pencil and paper. So I guess because they already have that skill sets of identifying the details and the form. So I guess on paper pencil,
The
they are
transferring.
more the transfer, and they are more confident in transferring lah. So that is the other side why I use technology, because of fast efficient, but it's also a checkpoint, or rather not checkpoint, but a point where they can at least regurgitate their idea out first.
And easily move, adjust, scale, stretch, and stuff. And then, yeah, and then and if I hear you right, you still want them to go through the experience of drawing it out, but from the
Yes.
draft.
Yes,
The
yes.
draft that was
Digital
done
draft,
on the
yes.
computer. So that means there's, I mean, yeah, I suppose if they were to do it entirely hand drawn, they will need to have a rough drawing. But if there are errors, they'll need to then deal with erasing, clearing, or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So we've got the first part, which is actually about sharing and collaboration. We've got this part as a kind of fast drafting and prototyping.
Yeah.
But if I hear you right, we still appreciate and value the handmade, and handmade meaning using by hand with the traditional media. Isn't that a bit old-fashioned? And I just say it as a provocation.
It is. I mean, you can call it old-fashioned, you can call it fine art, you can call it traditional art.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we are looking at also the assessment goals of the exam, because we are MOE teachers. So and the outcome of certain artwork, it will definitely be relating to what the students are interested in. And this is just one platform. And majority, surprisingly, because of the scale that we wanted to do for their project, the timeline that we wanted to have for their project. So the students will naturally also shift their art making towards this so-called traditional art approach or fine art approach. Yeah, because at the end of the day, based on technology back then, that yes, it's marvelous, but it's at the same time, there's for them, they find it also quite limiting to do to do art. Sorry, to do art in this Microsoft program,
Okay.
where traditional art forms may not be able to um, may not be able to do. I mean, if I can give an example,
Okay.
for example, if let's say at the end of the day they are interested in sculpture,
Yes. Yeah, no.
okay,
It's not. That's not
maybe
going to work.
that's not gonna work. If let's say
Painting also is no.
paint, yeah,
Painting
if
won't
let's say
work.
they wanted to do painting,
Expressive mark making is not going to work
yes, and I
in a.
remember back then there was a hype with the students to do translucency layers, and then I'm like thinking, wow, opacity. You can do opacity, what? But teacher is not very. It doesn't look very elegant on computer, huh? But opacity is opacity. No, but I want to control certain elements of opacity.
Wow, very
And,
discerning.
then okay, sure.
Okay.
Then we try painting lah. So we painting, watercolor painting. So all these, I would say, fine arts method lah, is definitely has differed from digital methods. But of course, that is not 15 years ago. Maybe 10 years back, because right now we have Procreate really to do
Okay.
all these things.
And and it's able to emulate the brush strokes
Yes.
and the pencil. So do you use? I assume you do use Procreate in the class.
Yes. I introduced Procreate Procreate was quite recent. So I actually, when I was from secondary school, so I cross deployed to primary school.
Okay.
So in primary school, yes, my first year I just introduced just to see
Okay.
what kind of engagement students can have using Procreate. I mean, they love it, they like it, they are engaged lah when they're using that. As an art teacher point of view also,
Yes.
it's very I'm going to just say this out lah. Between Procreate and painting, I prefer Procreate because it's less messy. Its materials are more managed.
Okay. So let me just throw it in. I mean, are we missing out something with the messiness of it? I mean, is it? Are we losing out on? Okay. So there's the mess, and then there's the management of the mess. So that's one thing, but as much as I want to also try and throw you a contradictive question, I also understand the challenges that art teachers face. I mean, how long do you have in a class session?
An hour.
An hour.
Yep.
You've got how many students in Sec 2?
40.
40.
Primary school.
Primary school.
Primary
So
5, primary 6, 40.
I understand. I understand. I mean, it's an efficiency thing, and you did use that word earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think are we losing something though? Are we and perhaps yes, we are definitely losing something. We're losing a traditional media, but I guess it's a trade-off, right? So how bad is the situation, and are we still able to still understand the essence of what it's about using Procreate, and the child still can walk away with well balanced knowledge of what art making is about. So do you think that? I mean, I know you use Procreate, but do you think that Procreate is a risk to some things that we may be overlooking? And do you have a take on that?
I do, after thinking what you have mentioned. Yes, actually, Paul, as a teacher, it all goes back to learning outcomes. You're just going to be very blunt about it.
Okay.
Because the learning outcomes doesn't talk about management of messiness. The learning outcomes doesn't talk about how students actually use water to paint, that sort of stuff, because they look more into the details of form, the details of the
Which
objects itself.
can be achieved with
Yes,
Procreate.
which can be achieved with Procreate. Yeah, that's yeah lah.
Okay. So, just dwelling on this a little bit longer.
Sure.
Have you taught classes where you're teaching watercolor, the real watercolor, or acrylic paint?
Yes.
You have.
Yes.
And if you had to compare the students' experience doing painting in its traditional wet form and Procreate, what are your observations?
Okay, at the primary school level, I would say they are both equally excited lah about both because
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, Procreate is very specialized. It's a very specialized digital tool that maybe even their peers may not be able to access. Maybe at home they may not be able to access. So they had fun exploring all the different tools at the tip of their fingers.
Okay.
Okay, and for watercolor painting or painting itself, they are also equally excited because again they are not able to access this at home because
Okay.
as at home it's all about academic studies, but in school when they explore they really explore on I knew I said about the exploration of having water in the paint,
Yeah.
but that's what they actually experiencing. That's what they're actually exploring. So they quite enjoy that kind of sensation. But I guess it depends on okay. So the difference I feel that they have better control over digital tools. They may not have. They want to explore, but they may not necessarily have better control over watercolor painting or painting itself. So at the end of the day, if we look at the artwork, a traditional a work that is created by painting or the may not be very meticulously done
Okay.
simply because I mean in digital landscape we have the Control Z, the Control
Yes.
V, and
Yes.
just
Yes.
and erasing it, and once they once they swipe, they straight away can zoom in and they just can delete away very finely actually
Okay.
what they do not want, and
Yeah.
then they zoom out again and they hey this is what I want.
Okay.
Yeah, but for painting itself they can't swipe in and say they can only
No, they can only look closer.
yes look
And
closer.
I'm going to ask you a question about Control Z next, but before we get there, I'm just going to speak about an observation. I mean, what you're saying also brought to mind that Procreate offered a class significantly more tools than you could possibly provide at any one time in the classroom, because you've got a multitude of brushes, a multitude of
Strokes.
strokes
Yes.
that you as a teacher would probably need to do far more preparation for it to be all
Yes,
available.
yes.
So I guess that is an affordance there. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the Control Z. I mean, I remember Control Z has been an actual point of conversation about children and art making and the likes, because in a inverted comma traditional approach, you make a painted mark, you got to think about what you're doing. I mean, in the first instance, let's say you make a mistake and you get very frustrated and you can never delete that again, or you may have to start a new piece of paper. And it's perhaps for the second time round, you might need to take a more thoughtful approach to how you're doing things. And Control Z it's like a computer game, where if you have like a racing game, and you crash, it's very easy just to say return to start and start
Yes.
again. But in real life, you don't have that
Yes.
that benefit. So now I ask you, what are the effects of Control Z? And by the way, for anyone who's watching who doesn't know what Control Z is, it's to undo the last thing that you did. But I'm sure everyone knows. Or Command Z for Apple users. What are your observations? I mean, has this altered behaviors or altered the way we make art now because of Control Z?
Yes, definitely. I think in primary school is more apparent where because Control Z allow us to allow the children to redo. So I guess it's really about learning. What do they learn? Learning about their mistakes. So learning about the mistakes. In a way, the pros is they learn faster. They are not afraid to make mistakes
Because
in the canvas
they allow faster iterations.
yes, because we talk about efficiency, but at the same time, I also realize that we talk about, or rather, the students want their artwork to be. I'm not too sure where this come from. They want to make the artwork perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just by drawing a circle, yes, I know that there's a Procreate. You click and you put a dot on it, put a circle, put it long, drag it longer, and it becomes perfect circle.
Okay.
But of course, I didn't teach them that.
Okay.
So they are, in a way, they just to draw the circle, they struggle. They struggle because they draw multiple, but at the same time, they can Control Z or just erase if it's not perfect enough
try
for
it
them,
again.
and try. Yeah. So, but in the traditional form, if at least in primary school, if they couldn't get their artwork right, they wouldn't want to redo, or rather, they want to add on and overlap with another thought that they have in the art making process. And
Okay.
the art making process at primary school level, because they may not be mature in the art making creation, so the more they add, the more confused they become. So
Okay.
that's where the control Z, they know that they can't redo. The only way that they can do is to redo entirely the whole work.
If it's on the traditional media.
Yeah, it's on the traditional, which they wouldn't want. So at the end of the day, they become frustrated and they will just give up on the work.
Okay, so that's interesting. So if in that situation that you just described, there is frustration at the end of the day. Obviously, that's not very good for art, because then art's potentially seen as this really frustrating thing, and I never want to do it again in my life.
To a certain extent, yes lah, but not to everyone.
Not to everyone. So some are more persevering with it and
Yes,
not
yes.
so not so dissuaded by
Yeah,
it.
or some students that really know what they want to do already, so that's why they have yes, they make, in a way, they make lesser mistakes
Okay.
along the process. So that's where they still, I mean, there are still a lot of students who submit artworks that really fulfill their own self lah.
Okay. Okay. So, trying to join the dots here, I mean, would you say that Control Z in some way leads to more satisfaction by the end user, by the learner, on the kind of things that they're making? Because Control Z allows you to go back on an error, or even erasing tools and stuff like that. That it allows them to make amends, to make it just right.
Yeah.
And their level of satisfaction in it then potentially
increases.
I don't want to make up stuff here, but whether it's observed.
Yeah. So yes, yes, artwork done digitally is. I also wouldn't want to deny that traditional art is not good lah. I mean,
No, but I wouldn't say it's not good, but it's that if, let's say, for instance, in a class of 40, if, let's say, 15, 18, 20 are struggling with it, and with no Control Z because it's traditional media, and look at it and say, this is not good, I don't like it, I don't like art anymore, right? Then we potentially lose 20,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And then, so what I'm asking you and speculating is that if, for instance, with the advent of Control Z and eraser tools, we can get 40 students who can, or let's say 35 students who can potentially get to a level that they are happy with, and still feel that, hey, I wouldn't mind continuing this into Sec 1, okay, they have to do it in Sec 1 and Sec 2, and maybe Sec 3,
Yep. Yeah. It happened just now in the classroom earlier on. I asked the boy. I was teaching QBs.
Okay.
QBs, color pencil. And then we all know that color pencil is one of the slowest method to really get everything colored.
Okay.
But with that said, they are primary threes. They want to color. They like coloring. Let's do it.
Okay.
And then after that, then this boy who colored haphazardly, finished everything. Teacher, I complete. So I asked, are you happy with your work? And he said, no. Oh. Why? Okay. You say you complete. Then after that, I think can be better because I see my friend color better. Okay, let you just go ahead and color better. Yeah, so I mean that's the thing. The thing is, I think we still ask whether is it digitally or doing fine arts. Really, I guess artwork is really about the students themselves. So we still ask the question, are you happy with the work? Yeah, so even when it comes to digital artwork, I still ask, are you happy with the work? And I get, in that sense.
Do you think they're under pressure that they got to say yes?
No.
Teacher asked me whether I'm happy, so my default answer should be no.
No.
No? Sure?
No, I've toned down. In primary school.
Did you stare at them and
No.
Okay.
No, but I did have a lot of happier answers when they do digital illustrations
Okay.
rather than this color pencil method.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, we need to up my expectation. I only tell them that my baseline expectation is everything's colored nicely, there's no white spaces,
Okay.
and that's it, because they're just primary three.
Yeah.
But we all know that that's not a very easy thing to do, because you need to be very neat in your art, very neat in your competence. You need to have very effortful, and it also depends on whether or not they pick up what the teachers teach. Traditionally, we will say that, okay, just color using one direction or two direction, not too many direction, because it will look like you are scribbling. Yeah, so it's how much they want to pick all those things up.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, I digress a bit, but just that I think at the end point, digital illustration, whether you color one side, two side, three side, at the end of the day, the work will still look polished lah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, for digital art making.
I'm gonna jump on this child who believes in efficiency because he filled up the square as minimal. It sounds like he filled up the square as minimally as possible and decided I'm efficiently done.
Yes.
Then he of course looked around and realized that it, could be better. But on this note, you brought up earlier about the drawing of circle, and that's a motor skill. And hatching, for instance, is also a motor skill.
Yep.
Which is the hatching marks to fill in the empty space.
Yep.
Which, I mean, do you think it's something that traditional media elicits more? I know it's not necessarily part of the syllabus outcome that they must have the motor skills to do this, but what's your position on whether these motor skills are absolutely important or incidental of importance in the general, in the learning of art?
Wow. Actually, that's a very good question. Actually, I mean, I have an answer to that, but it really based on the educational philosophy of every single teachers, of individual teachers, not every single teacher, individual teachers.
Yeah.
So for me, I still believe that psychomotor skills is necessary.
Okay.
So therefore, that's why we do a mix. But to a very simplistic answer to, does traditional art medium allow us to look into the psychomotor skills of the kids or the students? I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the pressure point, the intensity of the coloring, the intensity of the drawing, the observing. Yeah, so all these
Which does happen. I mean, pressure point observation and all that kind of, it exists in Procreate. We still have pressure, right?
Yes.
We do, right?
Yes.
Virtualized pressure.
Virtualized pressure, but it's not exactly the pressure, the amount of pressure that
yes, so
that
it's not embodied in that sense. Well, it's
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about today or more recent days. You've been using AI in the classroom?
Yes.
It's a hot topic.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if back to the LinkedIn articles, is something that I wanted to share what my findings are by using all these AI tools in in the classroom.
Okay.
So it goes back to my own exploration in AI. I mean, we all use DALI, we all use ChatGPT. I mean, I'm assuming that all of us are using lah. It creates work efficiency for ChatGPT.
Yeah. What has just for the sake of asking, I mean, what part of AI has enamored you the most? What has really surprised you? What has been a big draw for you? I mean, because I met people who are, we don't this. But sorry, I'll let you answer. I can't stop talking right now.
Sure.
But then again, I must say that with things like ChatGPT, when people started to see how it makes your life easier, I must say I noticed the acceptance is much faster because they know it. it's like, oh, it made my life easier to some extent because it solved some writing problems. But yeah, what was it for you?
Okay, so for AI itself, yes, I think it's the efficiency on how it give me ideas. It give me, yes, I think it's mostly ideas on how to shape certain things up. Like for example, okay, so for let's not talk about work lah. We talk about maybe lesson planning since it's a education series, right?
Sure.
So you talk about lesson planning.
Yes.
ChatGPT allow us to straight away just do a prompt. I'm a teacher. I'm an art teacher. Please give me a lesson plan for a primary four coloring lesson.
Okay.
And then it comes out very nicely.
Right.
So that's like, I'm like, wow, that's something like I need an hour or two to plan.
Yes.
But this gave me instantaneously. But of course, the idea is there, but the context is something that only you and probably your students lah will be able to emulate all of this. So definitely that's a very rough. I find that it's still a very rough draft, but the frame is there for ChatGPT.
I know what you're talking about. I mean, obviously, I have experimented similar kind of prompts with
Yes.
ChatGPT. To some extent, I have found sometimes the responses are simplistic for me in a sense, not with insufficient nuance. However, I gotta say that because maybe it's me, I'm ADHD or something, but because there was a draft there,
Yeah.
it was a platform for me to be able to build on.
Yes.
And I appreciated that. And I found myself in certain things that I've been authoring where I'm actually deleting large parts of what ChatGPT writes. But the fact that it was presented as some structure for me, then it's like, okay, I now know how to. It's less daunting than starting with an empty page where you gotta figure out the structure of what you're gonna do.
Yes. That's definitely the point. Can I just roll reverse?
Yes. Okay. Roll reverse. Yes. You're gonna ask me questions now, is it?
Yes, because of that kind of platform and ideation that ChatGPT can actually have for us.
Okay.
I think is very how should I put it? Um, you touch on daunting on an empty canvas.
Yes.
So exactly what 15 years ago students are daunting at empty canvas.
Yes.
15 years later, they are still daunted at empty canvas.
And for thousands of years
Yes,
more. Yeah.
Yeah. So some things I would say doesn't change. So
Yeah.
actually AI make our life easier in a way that, hey, the empty canvas doesn't look daunting anymore. So that is where I started to really thought through how can we make students more confident in starting? How can we make students less daunting in starting? Because at the end of the day, for any artwork, whether or not experienced or non-experienced art students, let's just do it first, and we will tackle the issues and the problems, whether is it on materiality, whether is it on context or the theme that the students are championing in the artwork. I mean, all those are high level stake lah. So what do you think on using ChatGPT to create artwork at the initial state?
So as you're asking me that question, you just turned the interview around. But as you're asking me that question, I'm actually struggling to think about how we used to do it in the old days, right?
Yes.
And I'll tell you some of the things that we did in the old days. We would go to the library. We would look at art books of art because there was no there was barely a World Wide Web at that time when I was in art school. So libraries were the way. Some people, bad people, would actually tear pages out of the art books so that they have images that they can put in their folder and make reference to. But I wasn't one of those students. But that was the way to retain. Or at that time, color photocopies were a possibility, an expensive possibility. And that's just the beginning. And then there would be sketching, and I suppose you didn't commit to a finalized thing until you got your sketchings done in all the different permutations. So if I took the position of efficiency, yes, instead of me searching the length and breadth of a library for the kind of images that may appeal to me or that embodied themes that I like. I guess now I have the benefit of ChatGPT that can search the web, even Google image search as well. So your question to me is do I see that as a viable thing? Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a reality that I have to confront that is there and delivered to you. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, interestingly, we are talking about the reality that we need to confront because you mentioned about library, you
Yeah.
mentioned about tiring pages.
yeah.
Actually, I don't see myself doing that lah. But anyway, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
when I started off this social media documentation of students' artwork, is primarily the reason because 15 years ago, until now, they don't go to the library to look for all these images because the library is already on the internet. Sorry,
Yes.
the library,
Yeah.
the images are already
Yeah.
internet. That's why there's really I think I really believe that there is a good flow and very wide images because we're talking about education, what images in the World Wide Web. Yeah, so therefore, all this social media documentation is meant for us and for them to curate for themselves what is the theme topic about the images. So 15 years now. So because of AI,
Yeah.
that's where I try to capitalize. So AI now become the World Wide Web because they will help you consolidate and curate certain kind of images in a prompt.
But if I just hold you a moment, I mean,
Yep.
in the earlier example that you spoke about, the child still has to select.
Yes.
Isn't it problematic that OpenAI is now doing the selection for you?
It is.
Okay.
I mean, simple answer, it is.
It is, right?
It is. But they grew up that way. But anyway, it is, yes, curate for you, but we can also try.
We can re-prompt it again and it comes out with something else and then
Yeah.
you select, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they I mean prompting is one, but also at the same time, I mean this may digress a little bit, but we also need to look at the generation that we are teaching now.
Okay.
The student generation that we're teaching now, where they have a lot of screen time in their life. They woke up, the first thing they do is iPad, or they wake up straight away they YouTube. They wake up and they straight away do all of these things unless parents are in control lah.
Okay.
Which I find that in today's society, the tendency of getting frustrated over not having that screen time supersedes parents' control lah. Yeah. So in that sense,
Sorry, say that again.
Huh?
Say that again.
The frustration of not getting enough screen time
Yes.
supersedes parents' control over the screen time management. So I mean, in simpler words.
Yes.
Sorry,
Okay.
simpler words.
I'm trying to
So in simpler words, parents will just let them be watching the YouTube rather
because
than
it's more difficult to deal with a frustrated.
yes.
That's an addiction.
Don't say like that lah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It may not be, but of course there's certain. I mean, I'm not saying all children, but there's always a certain element of control. But because of the accessibility of having the devices, that gadget, therefore, children nowadays are pretty accessible in
Okay.
going to all these media.
You know, I use that word, but I guess even if I was to think about, I'm digressing. Even if I was to think about we as adults and not having a phone at certain moments of the day, it's actually quite.
Yes.
You know, even sometimes when you pass people a phone to say, "Hey, look at this," and they're holding on to it, you're like, "Can I have it back, please?" But yeah, okay, I got you. I mean, I think it's symptomatic of many of us, adults and children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So where was I?
I'm not sure.
Okay. AI. Yes. So AI help the kids to curate through prompts.
Yes.
And AI, actually the accessibility. I would say I will anchor it on the accessibility of how immediate all these images pre-curate by AI allow students to do a very polished selection, because no matter what, the internet is very wide.
Yeah.
If they research the images on the internet, and often not, in the internet, on the internet itself, the students may not be able to accurately decide what is the image that they would like to as a reference for their own art making.
Okay.
Yeah, but AI itself, because of the prompt, because of the targeted prompt that the students have actually created for AI, they are so the curation is more targeted. So the in terms of selection, the students are get more ready-made kind of images.
And contradicting what I said earlier about the ability for the traditional way of where you search yourself and the thing with the AI. I mean, I have to acknowledge that even though we use DALI or something to generate images for us, there's a high likelihood that we're going to generate 10,
Yes.
15, 20 to try and get it right in a sense. So there is still a selection process for us. It's just that I guess the search terms are more precise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess it'll be the same with the Google image search.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a difference. The difference between Google search and AI, because ChatGPT, DALL-E, image generated AI, they actually can generate images that we may have not seen before.
Yes, I think
Yes,
it,
or rather,
it only generates images that we haven't seen before, but it's very familiar because it's learned off
it's learned from
previous
that.
data sets.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah. So in that sense,
So there's already originality in the first instance of the research process.
Yep. I still go towards the ideas lah, the ideation, whether or not the students are going to use. I think that's something that the teachers have to talk about lah, the ethics of using AI.
Okay.
Yep.
So in your classroom today, you use AI as the DALI as part of the ideation process?
I use another platform.
What
But of course it's
Journey?
Huh?
Kid Journey?
No. I use Hypersketch.
Hypersketch.
Hypersketch AI allows the students to generate a picture based on the shapes that they draw. So for example,
Oh, so it's not an image generation tool. It's sort of it's image generation based on what they
Yes.
they draw.
what they draw.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and that's the only image generation AI tool used for your classroom?
Yes. I mean, for now lah, because it's the first level. Actually, no. For art, yes, but for other projects, we actually have used Canva AI to image generate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Canva AI image generation is still, I would say, not as developed lah.
Okay.
Not as developed. Yeah. But the thing is, okay. So why I use Hypersketch AI? Simply because of I wanted to enhance how to scaffold the images. Like I think we touches on how daunting it is on a blank canvas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is for the students to just draw out to draw the shapes that they want. For example, they want
like animals, like horses, dogs, circles, triangles,
Yes.
houses, that kind of stuff.
yes. Or a more simple idea like food.
Okay.
So they wanted to draw a pizza.
Okay.
So they just draw, but they do not know the form, the details of the pizza, because we're looking at primary 5 students.
Okay.
So they just draw the triangle, and then Hypersketch AI will, depending on the prompt. So the prompt is just food.
Also, they got to draw a triangle and then they put a text prompt. So the
Yes.
Okay. got
So
it.
they just, if it's big, if the scope is big like food, then the image generated will be pizza, cheese, cakes.
I found that on the iPhone notepad, there is that thing that does this. You draw the broad shape of what you want. In fact, you don't even need to do a shape. I think you just put the area you want it on this part of your notepad. Then you keyword prompt it, I want a pizza. It will put a pizza there.
Wow.
And this is on the Notepad app with Apple Intelligence. I sound like an Apple ad right now.
Yes.
But okay, so I hear you. And what have you observed in the child's ideation process now that we are doing this? And I want to highlight that you're saying ideation process. It means this is not the end. That the end, I guess you're going to get them to draw it, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe you could walk us through
Sure.
a typical task where you do this.
Okay, so the task for this. Okay, so actually, I wanted to try out how does this AI can enhance certain. Okay, so for this case, how AI can enhance the teacher scaffolding way of things. But for this specifically, how AI can actually enhance students generating ideas. Okay, so the learning outcome or the module outcome, I would say module outcome. At the end of the day, students are supposed to create their own composite portraits made up of objects of their interest.
Okay.
Okay,
So they compose a page,
a portrait.
a portrait page,
Yeah.
a portrait-oriented page, and they got to put various elements in it. And I assume they will probably have to adjust scale and position and stuff like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quality of image is not in focus right now, I assume.
Quality of image.
Meaning like how well it is
No, no,
drawn. Okay,
no.
so it's layouting.
Yes, yes. Portrait as in face.
Oh,
Face
portrait is in face.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes. So composite face, lah, I would say.
Like that artist who does face
Yes.
out of food, is it? What's
Yes,
his name?
yes. Akimboldo.
Akimoto, yes.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Is man. I mean, Akimboldo was the inspiration behind this module, lah.
Okay, so watermelon smiles and
Yes.
okay, got it.
Yeah. So
got
instead of food and vegetables, which Akimboldo have a lot of it, so
Yeah.
it becomes object of interest.
it. Okay,
Yeah. So in the past, if we do that kind of lesson,
yeah,
we will have students drawing fruit, food, because it's there.
Yeah.
The pictures and images are there.
yeah,
So right now we are taking it up a different level where students are, we gave students to engage themselves with objects of their interest. And then it could be sports, it could be based on food, it can be based on,
but it's about them, right?
yes,
It's
about
a
them.
self-portrait.
It's a portrait lah. I won't. Yeah. We were deliberating about self-portrait or portrait, but we just channel it to portrait. A portrait that they want to come out with.
So I assume that there is a meta layer to this art task as well, where they're looking at themselves, the world around them, what they do, and stuff like that, and they got to put it together in
Yes.
a composition, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, interestingly, I guess it goes many ways, but one of the ways is interestingly when we gave them a rectangle, what can we identify with a rectangle?
Okay.
Or a lot of them say that, oh, Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
Yeah, which is like, okay. Then if not, it's digital clock. I mean, even with objects, a round object, I mean, if they caught the Akimboldo images
Yeah.
reference, they will definitely draw fruits.
Okay.
But for those who did not or who still want out of their interest, it will be an Apple Watch.
Okay.
Which is round.
Okay.
Yeah. So
No, the
yeah.
Apple Watch is not round.
Oh,
Apple Watch is.
but they draw the Apple Watch and stuff. But anyway, it's
Okay.
a watch, like it's a watch.
Okay.
Digital watch.
Smartwatch.
Yes, smartwatch. Yeah. So that's one interesting thing that I observe. The objects that they relate to is really based on what they value in
Okay.
their in their life right now.
And I assume with the app, it allows them to worry-free and quickly
Yes. Yes.
get the image that is meaningful to them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the difference in
it's a
I would say lesson planning lah. Lesson planning, pedagogy, and we can really tap on students' interest better. I see better engagement because they are drawing a portrait that they can relate to.
Okay.
Yeah, a face that they can relate to, rather than this is Angke Boldo, let's do a composite portrait of food and fruits based on this. And some of the students were like, why must we do fruits and food again and again and again?
So-
but actually,
Yeah.
let me just one more sentence. Actually, when they do gadgets, I also see them as they are doing gadgets over and over again for every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But that's meaningful to them more than the fruits.
fruits and the fruits. Yeah. So actually, me and my art teacher, we were deliberating whether or not to let's make it simple and have it a digital illustration because we can actually composite layout.
Okay.
The composite the layouts very easily and then Control Z and they want to scale it smaller or bigger, really up to them, and it's really so much easier. So but I guess based on what we want our students to learn,
Yeah.
so we decided to really make them draw lah. Yeah.
So if to circle back to that, they do this as a iterative exercise to try and do the composition, and then you get them to draw it, like the final.
Yes.
Okay. Um, and the drawing on the final, uh, just pencil? Is it outline? Is it shading? Is it color pencil? Is it
Pencil and color pencil.
pencil and color pencil?
Yep. Yep.
I'm curious now. I mean, once they use this app, this tool to do the prototype, and then they color pencil it and finish it to completion, right? What's your observation in when you have these two things side by side? What are the students' reaction or feeling about these two pieces? I mean, I ask, do they look at the digital one, which was part of the composition process, and say, "Oh, actually, I prefer this," or do they actually say, "No, actually, I'm done with that, and I really like my drawing"? I mean, what have you observed?
Wow. I think we have not gone to that stage yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about
okay,
yourself?
so-
What when you look at what the students have done midway and at the end, right? Do you have an opinion about what you saw there?
Okay, so we didn't. Okay, so to clarify,
Yeah.
we didn't exactly make them do the layout, the face layout digitally.
Okay.
So really to refer and draw out
Oh, I see. So they use it as a
image reference. Or
image
visual
reference
yes.
tool. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
so it's an
understand.
image reference tool. But then again, of course, the composite portrait they do need to identify which shapes goes to which part of the face first.
Yes. Okay. But I guess in what you're saying to me, that means end result and midway thing doesn't look the same.
It does.
It just has parts of it that are transferred across.
Yes.
So it's
yes,
like, okay,
yes.
okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, okay. I had erroneously thought that they may even do the layout digitally.
Yes.
So that it, and I guess I was curious if they, in a sense, did the layout and all that kind of stuff, really nicely. Then when they would draw it out with pencil and color pencil, they are going to see a disparity in aesthetic, I suppose. Could be good, could be not so good. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm not sure about that, but just that. Okay, I'm not sure what are the responses.
Okay,
But it's just that my inclination to the response is we will not do that because it will hamper their motivation to do art in a traditional
I see.
way, because definitely digital will look more polished.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean in that sense, because they are primary five, they may not be very mature in terms of technical skills.
Okay.
Of the work, but we will not do that because on a hindsight, can I just talk about another lesson module that I had?
Sure.
Okay, so we dealt with Han Sai Paul's Black Forest, the installation.
Okay.
Yeah, so instead of having sculpture installation or in fact or landscape drawing and stuff, so we indulge in the students doing it on co-spaces. So co-spaces is a space where they can create landscape digitally using 3D blocks.
Okay.
Or 3D trees, or 3D nature in 3D.
Sorry, wait. We're talking about a software application.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, software.
The software application is called
Co-spaces.
C.
COSPACES.
Okay, CoSpace. All right.
Yeah.
And this CoSpace app is a 3D tool.
Yes.
Okay. And you have to make the 3D elements.
Yes.
Okay, and it's a web based or it's a
web based.
It's a web based.
Yeah, but it's a paid web based lah.
And primarily the software is used for.
The software is meant for educational use when they do on STEM, how engineering works.
Is it to do 3D objects for, let's say, 3D printing later and stuff like that?
You can do that, but no lah. Yes, I mean the idea is there.
Okay. So it's like a 3D Studio Max but web based.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes, and but it's definitely easier for the students because it's just drag and drop.
It's SketchUp but nicer.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, I got to speak in the year 2000.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were telling me. Sorry for the.
Sure,
you were telling me about this CoSpace that you 3D software online app that the students use. Yeah.
Okay. So we are dealing with Han Sai Paul's Black Forest. So
Okay.
Han Sai Paul's Black Forest, we deal with
Could you describe Han Sai Po's Black Forest artwork?
Ken. Okay. So Han Sai Paul's Black Forest artwork is a landscape. It's a sculptural landscape
Okay.
where she actually collected charcoals
Okay.
and formed the charcoals to trees,
Okay.
life-size trees. So
What
that
scale are we talking
we
about?
are talking about immersive scales where
You
participants
enter into a
can
forest.
enter into a black
Okay.
forest that is filled with black charcoals.
And how large was this installation?
It varies from year to year she install, but it can be half of this room.
So
A quarter lah,
about the
quarter
size
this
of a
room.
classroom.
Yes,
a
about a
typical
classroom.
classroom.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
I'm just painting the picture for everyone listening. Okay,
Yep.
so they recreate the scene in this 3D software, CoSpace.
Yes. So
Okay.
they do create these 3D scene in the core spaces. So the other platforms, sorry, I'm introducing a lot of tools here.
Okay.
Okay, so the other thing is the core spaces allow, there is this tech tool called Merge Cube.
Merge cube. Okay.
Yeah. So after you have designed that space, you can actually transfer to this merge cube, or rather, it's not a transfer lah. It's actually just one of the function that you can convert to merge cube,
Okay.
and then it gave a cuboid kind of world.
Okay.
And then after that's the AR function where actually the merge cube is AR is not tactile, but merge cube, the cube is tactile. So they hold the cube and they can view the world.
Okay. Merge Cube is an AR tool, and you look at it through your phone.
Yes, through the phone, through the iPads.
Through the phone, through the iPad.
Yes.
I assume it has a AR marker that the iPad needs to look at.
Yes.
It does. And when the iPad looks at the AR marker, which is like a QR code kind of thing,
Yep.
it's an orientation marker. It sees a cube.
Yes. It sees the yes.
It sees an AR object.
Yes.
Artificial
Yeah,
reality
yes,
object. A three-dimensional artificial
Yes.
reality object. Okay, so if I understand you correctly, CoSpace, they create the 3D object or the 3D space
Yes.
or the 3D artwork installation. You export it to Merge
Cube.
Merge Cube, and you can make it into a augmented reality object,
Yes.
viewable via your phone.
Yes.
Okay, and you can rotate.
Through physical tubes. Through physical cubes also.
So the cubes are the one that has the AR
The AR
marker.
markers, correct.
Okay. Okay.
It's
Is
interesting
it a
about the
Singapore
solution.
product?
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's
No,
a-
because many years ago, there was a spin-off company based out of NUS that actually developed a children's learning tool, I think called Magic Cubes. And at one time it was sold at Popular Bookstore. And it was exactly as how you talk about it, where you have AR content on a cube. The cube was the marker. And you used your phone to sort of see three-dimensional objects. So that existed. But yeah, okay. So they moved their 3D made objects into an AR thing, and then
Okay, so just now sorry, I was going back to the question where the students are really engaged doing that, or rather, I mean, based on the new things, the innovative things that they can do, the simple things that they can do, because it's creating their world, and all of the in a way objects of natures are there, so they just create the landscape based on the blocks and the objects, and based on Hans Saipo's work. So
Yeah.
I mean, one of the instruction was that I gave them was have everything black
okay.
to emulate that kind of black forest scene.
So they have a bit of learning about a Singaporean artist, Han Sai-po. They get a chance to, in a sense, do a kind of a copy painting, but it's a homage, a work inspired by, and also dabble with this 3D AR.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So we spent a term doing that, but of course not the whole term doing co-spaces, because
Did each person do one?
Yes. Each person do one. Yeah. So we dabbled with drawing sketches of the Black Forest first in 2D, and then after that adding colors, a little bit of colors here and there, and then after that from 2D then we make them draw the 3D, how they envision the 3D to look like once they have done the 2D, and then after that we co-spaces. So there's still elements of drawing and digital experience. So something that I wanted to answer just now was was are all students do all students appreciate the digital shift? Actually, in primary three, I would say it's 50-50. Because surprisingly, based on, the survey response that we gave them, a lot of them, or rather 50% of them, would still like how how they can freely express themselves using paper and pencil, or color pencils and paper. Yeah, but of course we make it safe. We make it like we we keep harping on. I'm not looking for realistic trees. We are not looking at realistic things. We are using the word smart making. We are use the word of expression.
But okay, so if I could latch on to some of your survey findings,
Yep.
where you do have a quantity who still like making marks on paper, right? Now, from our earlier part of the conversation, Procreate is able to do that. So why then is the feedback still that the paper is supreme and not the I mean, you can do it on Procreate, right? But it does need a charged iPad, and it does need a stylus.
Yeah. Yeah. We could. Why is the paper supreme?
Why do you speculate that the child who answered positively that the still rather draw? What do you think? I mean, I I'm surprised. I'm surprised because we we've come so far from drawing with our mouse and expensive applications to programs. Yeah, why do you think? What is it about this that that child, for instance, preferred over doing it on the iPad?
If I were to answer that, it also depends on the modules that we have, lah. So
Okay.
that's why we have to curate. We can't have all art making to be digital experiences. So we may need to intersect or integrate both methods of making into a particular module.
Okay, I hear you,
Yep.
but I guess I'm I mean, maybe it's an answer that I'll have to think about
Oh, but it's an interesting question. But it's also caught me surprised that really there are students who want to sketch
yeah.
rather than do it digitally.
Okay.
In the classroom itself, interestingly, I can see some students, why are we doing something digital when actually
You
we
can do
can,
it traditionally.
yes.
Actually, at this point, I'll ask the audience if you have your thoughts about why a child might prefer the more traditional aspect in the advent of all the tools that we have available today. Please put it down in the comments, and we'll love to read what your contributions are. So, yeah. So, okay. It's an interesting. And do you frequently do these surveys?
Yes. I do it at least once a term, lah, at the end of the term, to just see how the module, what is the engagement and responses of the students.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm looking at students' interest, students' level. So if I can capture that, then the next batch would be able to benefit from the tweaks. At the same time, it makes my lesson more current lah,
Okay.
in the landscape. Yeah.
So I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
What do you project for your future as an art educator in a primary school art classroom? What do you think that's going to look more and more like? If you had to speculate, I know it's hard to look at the crystal ball. Sorry to delay your answer, but
No.
I remember that was November 2023, I think, that ChatGPT was announced. And suddenly the whole world changed. Because never, prior to that, had anything quite as astounding in a sense as that happened. And so I know it's very difficult to predict a future because, but if you had to speculate either aspects of the future or aspects of behaviors or aspects of how your art classroom might change, do you have any?
Sure. I think if I want to tackle that question, I will look into what is the primary thing that we look at for art making? I mean, for myself, we always look at students' responses in making art and students' interest while they make art.
Okay.
So these two, I think the changing landscape of how technology has advanced to the AI generation is really based on how then can we how to make art so that it becomes very meaningful for the children or for the students. Yeah, and the how, because of AI, I foresee that it can become faster because
Okay.
of the prompt that we teach
Yeah.
students. So with that said, maybe instead of, so I see AI as a tool. So instead of teaching them how to draw, we may even have a lesson on how to do prompt.
I see.
Yeah, so that they can actually figure out what is the
Actually, I would speculate that that would probably be a foundational class for many things. I mean, assignments. I mean, across subject areas.
Yeah.
It would be language proficiency, skill of prompting will probably be a foundational subject, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, I have to agree to that because if let's say we are looking at ethics, that would create a certain kind of fairness in students' level
Yeah,
of interaction with AI.
yeah.
Yeah.
And especially now that the Gen AI that we have now is essentially a large language model, so it's very language based, and even images are translated from language to image, image to language,
Yeah.
right? Language, the primacy of language is now so important to get the end result that you want. Much to think about.
Then the other one that I was thinking about is I think in the future, or rather maybe right now, the landscape is really about AI ethics.
Okay.
Because what we generated may not necessarily be what we can own it, or students should own it. Because we are still, I mean, in my article, I still want to champion how students can think creatively, how
Okay.
students can do critical thinking, and not exactly use AI as a shortcut.
Okay, perhaps for those listening in, what would you say are some of your burning issues with ethics in AI? For what are the main things? Is it and I'm trying to identify exactly what we're dealing with. Are we dealing with the idea of copying, or are we dealing with the idea of content? What's your take on what's the burning issue for ethics
I
in
think
AI?
it's still a very burning issue because I doubt anyone can give a straightforward answer to that. But definitely, if let's say we are talking about in the educational perspective, if let's say if we use AI to generate the picture, even though the prompt is ours, but the picture may not be. I mean, the pros is the picture may not be the desired image that the students want to produce. So
Okay.
therefore, they can still further enhance either through AI or further enhance through their mark making.
Hang on. If I'm hearing you right, are you making an inference to the generation of images that very closely resemble the work of another person? Is that what you're talking about? Works that are, like, for instance, if I keyed in paint, like generate an image that looks like Starry Starry Night in Vincent Van Gogh style, right? And it comes up with something with the
The swirls,
impressionist. Is it what?
brushstrokes.
Yeah,
Brushstrokes.
impressionist,
Swirls.
right?
Yeah,
Impressionist brushstrokes. And let's say generate something that looks almost identical to Vincent Van Gogh's artwork. So is that the ethics of what you're talking about? Meaning that essentially, I mean, because there was an issue where illustrators, digital artists, were up in arms because DALI trained on their images and their keywords. And if you keyed in the artist's name and the subject matter, you could generate an artwork in the style of
Van Gogh.
Or whatever digital artist there are. I mean, is that what you're dealing with?
I don't deal with that.
No, when I say is that what you're dealing with, meaning that when you talk about the ethics of,
yes.
is that the contentious point that you're referring to?
one of the contentious point I'm referring to. The other contentious point that I'm referring to is really about um, um, about what
Ethics.
yes, about the ethics of whether or not we want to own that image just through our prompting. Yeah, because if it's quite straightforward. If let's say there is a famous artist, and then after that and the artwork generated appear and resemble that famous artist, so that is one. Do we want to use it? The other part two is more towards the self um the self belief lah, or the self worth, whether or not do we want to use it when we know that the world knows that this work doesn't belong to the person, to the
Sorry,
individual.
are you saying that if I was to generate, I just asked you a question, huh? If I was to generate an artwork, an image on Dali,
Mm.
are you saying that that is potentially not entirely my art, my image?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I am okay. I'm understanding you a bit clearer now. You are still attributing it that okay. Who owns the image? Me, Dali, or the aesthetic reference that it belongs to? So let's say if I said Starry Starry Night.
Mm.
I mean, and this is simple, but
Yeah.
so would you say that the artwork belongs to Van Gogh, Dali, or me? I want a picture of a pizza done in the style of Starry Starry Night.
Mm.
Who owns the image that's generated?
Let's ask the audience.
Okay,
Okay, let's ask. But I think we're dealing with
I think that's a very good question for
Yeah.
the audience. Go ahead, put in your comments.
yeah, but we are also dealing with ethics that hasn't been resolved for many years, because for every art movement
Yes,
to progress,
yes.
it is a reference to the previous.
So, what do you
movement.
think? Does the artwork? Let's just say
Yeah.
your opinion, right? Does the artwork can the child say this is my Starry Starry Night version of a pizza?
I would say I would say no if it's
You will say no.
I would say no if it's in a way copied and pasted.
What do you mean by copy and
As
paste?
in whatever that's generated
Yes.
is being presented.
Yeah. He
Yes.
enter keyword print pass up.
Yes.
My artwork.
It depends on the module lah. Okay, one is depend on module.
Art module. Art
okay,
module.
yeah,
Art module.
Okay, but at the end of the day, I think we should do more than just generating and giving the output.
Okay, so I hear you there and I understand,
Mm.
but there's this really interesting part about whether whose is it.
Mm-hmm.
Can the child? Would you advise the child that the child can go to his parents and say, "I made this image, I made it."
Mm.
Would you say the child can do that? What if the child says to you, "Che, I want to show my parents what I made. I made today." What would you say?
I would say, actually, I would say no. You can't show it to your parents because it's being generated by AI.
Okay.
And what makes it yours? Of course, the
I
boy.
entered the keywords.
You can show your parents the keywords then.
Okay.
Okay, you can show your parents the keywords.
So then I say, Che, then what should I tell my parents who made this
you make it together with AI.
with AI?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it does sound that whilst you acknowledge and respect that AI is able to generate and stuff like that, you're also attributing that AI is an entity in itself, that it made this.
Mm.
So you're almost giving it identity that
Yes.
the AI made this.
Yeah.
You didn't make it. You just asked it for its opinion, kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if I want to respond to that, I think I just was having a thought that similarly, if the student come in, teacher, how to draw the pizza, and I draw for the pizza. I draw
Yes,
the
it's
pizza.
not the child's.
Yeah, it's not the child's. That's quite straightforward.
Okay.
Because there is that element of the.
Okay,
teacher
so I
drawing.
play with you one more. Okay, one
Okay.
more. Almost a bit more than an hour. Okay. Beautiful sunset in the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Mountains, river, beautiful sunset.
Mm-hmm.
I take out my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I press this one button.
Mm-hmm.
I have a picture. Is it my picture?
It's yours. Where are you going with this, Paul?
Because I didn't do very much apart from take out my phone and press one button. I didn't even need to operate shutter speed, aperture, all the things that we did in class. I didn't need to do all of that. I just pressed one button. In fact, I didn't even frame it. I just put it on a wide angle and just
Yeah,
hantam.
yeah,
Is it mine?
yeah. I mean, for sure, if you look at the photography skill set, it's
There's none
yours.
that I used.
None or not, but really depends on the photography skills that we have done, because at least it's a choiced angle, a chosen angle, it's a chosen atmosphere. Possibly you like the colors, that's why you take the colors, and I think there is a lot of deliberated choice. But at the same time, it's also a norm where it's a photo. A photo is a photo. I'm just trying to relate it back. So if let's say we're talking about AI, actually AI generated images, there is, after you generate a lot of images, you can see a constant kind of style
Okay.
that AI have generated.
Yes.
Unless it becomes a norm to society of all these AI generated. So they can see that this is not yours. Don't bluff lah. This is AI one.
Okay.
Yeah. But of course, that is because they treat AI as a shortcut to create. But of course, photography is also another way of, I do not know how long back then, but it's a shortcut to drawing.
Well, there was one time where, I mean, many would argue that photography wasn't really art.
Yep.
As an example, one artist declared that painting was dead when photography was invented. But yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I would say, if in terms of photography at this age and era, I would say that yes, the photography is yours.
And on that note, Erman, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It was fun.